Hey everybody, Davis Tallow coming at you with part two of Rocky Mountain rankings and concerning Jethro Tull. I decided to do a two-parter. That way downloading or uploading, I should say, doesn't take very long. The longer the video, the longer it takes. So anyway, in part one we did 22 down to number 12. This one will be number 11 down to number 1. So, number 1. So anyway, how this works is I go from my least favorite to my favorite. Oh, I forget to mention this in the first part. Please leave your own rankings or your own listing down below in the comments. Please subscribe to my channel. Please. I would much appreciate it. Hit the notification bell and like the video. All this helps my channel grow. Ooh, it get a little dark here. Must be a cloud going over. But anyway, let's get this ball rolling here. Starting part 2 out with number 11. Now this album, what you could say, Mark II plus one, it wasn't another, the Mark II lineup of Ian Anderson, Mark Baer, Glenn Cornick, and Clive Bunker, along with John Evan, who was organist and original member before they started recording. He eventually become a permanent member, but he hadn't quite decided yet on this album. But he's on this album. But anyway, released April 1970, talking about Benefit. You only got the 4 members on here. John Evan had chose to join the band. He probably would have been on the album cover. Anyway, great album. Like I said, with stand-up, they're feeling their way here. They're finding their sound. With You There to Help Me, showing that sound that they're eventually settle on. Nothing to Say, Live and Well and Living In, Sun, for Michael Collins, Jeffrey and Me. Great. To Cry You a Song's good. Time for Everything, I love it. Insides, we get a little ditty. Plain in Time's good, and Society, You're a Woman. But yeah, it's a fantastic album. One I find I'm reaching more and more to lately, but it's still not in my top echelons yet. But definitely a must for any Tull fan. See, production here. Guitarist Mark Baer said that Benefit was a lot easier to make than the previous album. And I can see that. I mean, when you're starting out, each album you're getting used to the grind, you're getting used to recording and stuff. So I can see that. Bassist Glenn Cornick stated that the band's intention was to capture a more live feeling. As I felt the last one sounded like a group of session musicians performing various songs. It was pretty cold. And thinking on that, yeah, I can see that. This one, they did come off more with a catchy live sound. The only way you can do that outside get that pure live sound is do outside the studio live. So Maybe they should have done that. Followed, the MC5s, or did what the MC5 did and recorded an album live. So anyway, good solid album. Number 11, Benefit. Okay. Now this album, if you watch the first part, this is that metal era of the 1970s where they're going from one style to a different style. And you find that with Tull during the 70s. You'll have the first part, with the late 60s or the 70s portion, Aqua Lung and Benefit and Stand Up and Thick as a Brick, But then they go into this middle section, and this time period is where Ian Anderson was going through a divorce, marital problems, and stuff, and he was. I've seen a couple of concert tapes where he looked like he could go crazy at any moment. Of course, maybe I'm wrong. During that time period, he didn't look like he was just short of going cuckoo. But it's this period where they're more of a rock band than the acoustic traditional style, rock band that they would become. Released in December 1975. Recorded in December 1975, released 1976. It was the first album to include bassist John Glasscock. Okay. Anyway, talking about Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. A lot of people don't like this album. A lot of people do. Kind of a fun little story inside, a little cartoon story. But definitely a lot different from their earlier stuff. Like I said, they're being more of a traditional hard rock band. You got numbers like Quiz Kid, Crazed Institution, Salamander, Taxi Grab, like that one. From a Deadbeat to an Old Greaser, Bad Eyed and Levis, Big Dipper, Too Old to Rock and Roll, Pied Piper, Checker Flag, Dead or Alive. I like it. Good solid album. Interesting little storyline with it. Is it one of their best? Probably not. But when I first heard this, I listened the heck out of this. I had on, a friend gave it to me on 8-track. I listened the heck out of it. But, still a good, solid, Tull album. But that period of time when they were trying to figure out what kind of band they were going to be. A hard rock band or a acoustic band or what. Anyway. Number 10, Too Old to Rock and Roll. Now this album wasn't basically not included in their studio discography, but and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, there's only 22 studio albums. To me, there's 23. Like I said, I'm not including the Christmas album, but I am including this album because I consider, even though it's part live and part studio, well, a little bit of it's live. Side 3 of it's live. Anyway, released Let's see, where is it here? Doesn't say when it was released. I believe it was 1973. Anyway, talking about living in the past. There's the inside of the band. Classic lineup right here. Back cover. Like I said, side 3 is live Carnegie Hall. Great live pieces by Cutting Permission Of and Dharma for One. But great. I included my studio album because basically it's chock full of unreleased songs from previous albums and singles and whatnot. Starts with the song for Jeffrey, Love Story, Christmas song, Christmas song, Living the Past, Driving Song, Bori. A lot of these, that one appeared on Stand Up, Song for Jeffrey. This was Sweet Dreams, Singing for a Day, Witch's Promise, Teacher, the U.S. version for Benefit, Inside, Just Trying to Be. Then we got side 3, By Cutting Permission Of, and Dharma for One. Then side 4, Wondering Again, previous unreleased. So basically, this is like God, I'm pulling a duh here. Oh, Physical Graffiti from Led Zeppelin. That's what I'm trying to think of. Trying to go from one band to another. Physical Graffiti, where they basically released new tunes with previous unreleased stuff. That this was right here. Of course, you got Locomotive Breath, Life is a Long Song, Up the Pool, Dr. Bogan Broom from Later, and Nursey. I love this album. It's chock full of great stuff. But yeah, I'm going to include it here. It's number 9, or actually, I screwed up. Oh dear. Blooper time. This is actually number 8. I skipped over number 9 because I don't have a physical copy of it. Dash it all. Let's go back to number 9 here, shall we? Let's see, where is it? There it is. Released January 28th, 2022 on Inside Out Music. I'm talking, of course, the Zealot Gene. Talked about this on at the beginning of part 1. Wonderful album. It's with each listen, it's growing on me more and more. You got those albums that grab you right off the bat, and then those albums that over time they just grow on you, and then there's those albums that you don't like at first, but later on you listen to them and boom, that makes sense. This one's growing on me more and more. Starts up with Miss Tibbetts, marvelous song. All these songs are marvelous. Jacob's Tale, wonderful. Mine is the Mountain. Zealot Gene is okay. Shoshana Sleeping, Sad City Sisters, Baron Beth, Wild West John, The Betrayal of Joshua Kind, love that one. Where Did This Sunday or Saturday Go? Three Loves, Three, and Brief Visitation, and The Fisherman of Ephesus. When they recorded this, they, I believe, got like 6 or 7 songs down, and then the big C hit, so they couldn't get the studio together. So Ian ended up doing a lot of the rest acoustically, which doesn't take away anything. So you got a mixture of here of pure acoustic, and regular hard driving Tull songs. A lot of people say this, more of an Ian Anderson solo album, but I disagree. I think they say that because basically who plays on this is the guys that did his solo work. Florian Appel, David Goodyear, John O'Hara, Scott Hammond, and Joe Parrish James played guitar on track 11. Track 11, yeah, the Bad Visitation, or Bad Visitation, a Brief Visitation. So I did a review of this, so if you want a little more in depth, go check that out. But anyway, that's coming up number 9, the Zealot Gene. So moving right along. Okay, we just did number 9, and before that we did number 8, which was Living in the Past. So, but we won't rehash that again, unless you want me to. I don't want to. But Living in the Past, not a regular studio album, but I'm going to include it here as a studio album because it's a wonderful album. Just wonderful. Number 7. We're up to number 7. Released April 10th, 1978. This album is where Ian has finally found the pure, unadulterated Tull sound. You got like I said before, you had the first part, from 1968 to 1972. Then you had the middle portion, which include 3 albums. Then you got, excuse me, God, it's getting dinner time. Then you got the portion after that where things get straightened out with the end life and the band, and we move on. So anyway, April 10th, 1978, Heavy Horses. This is where the band started to change a little bit. Jeffrey Hammond's left the band, and let's see here. Jeez, got a lot of. So in this one, you got 6-piece. You got Indy Anderson, Mark Baer, John Glasscock has replaced Jeffrey Hammond on bass. John Evan still on piano and organ. D. Palmer, then David Palmer. That's he goes by David Palmer on here. On keyboards, also orchestra. He did a lot of the orchestra stuff for Tull back in the 70s and 80s. Barrymore Barlow on drums, of course. Solid album. Let's see, got up here. And The Mouse Police Never Sleeps. Bang right in the face. They're off to a good start here. Acres Wild, great. No Lullaby, fun song. Moths, Journeyman. Rovers, great. One Brown Mouse is good. Of course, you got the classic Heavy Horses and Weathercock. Fun album. Not one I reach for as much as the ones that are yet to come, but still, I love it. Tull at their raging best here. So that's number 7, Heavy Horses. All right, we're back to that middle portion of the 1970s where they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do. Be a rock, just a rock band or a acoustic traditional rock band, whatnot. Um, this song, this album I love uh, more than the previous two that came before it. Because the previous two, there's, one album they're trying to figure out what they're doing to do. The second album, they're still trying to figure things out. Though they've done a little bit more better work with it, in that aspect. This one, they've figured that out. Released September 75. I'm talking Minstrel of the Gallery. Then you turn it over, and interesting the way they did that. You go like that. Usually you have to go like this. If you do that, it sits upside down, so you just flip it that way. Of course, there's the band. Still the classic lineup of Anderson, Baer, Evans, Hammond, and Barlow. Jeffrey Hammond, he had this thing of wearing really flashy, bizarre outfits, so he stood out on their tours. Of course, then he had David Palmer doing strings and the orchestra arrangements. What can I say about this album? It's a wonderful, wonderful album. It starts out with Minstrel of the Gallery, Cold Wind in Valhalla, lovely, Black Satin Dancer, Requiem. You go into One White Duck / 0 to the 10th power equals nothing at all. Interesting title. Then you go right into the, I think, outside of Thick as a Brick and Passion Play, one of their longest songs, Baker Street Muse. Then it ends with Grace, there's 37 seconds. So, yeah, say Grace. But Baker Street Muse divide up into 4 parts here. Pig Me and the Horror. Nice little tune. Crash Barrier Waltzer. And Nothing, or Mother England Revised. Revered. Mother England Revered. So, Tull, when they're finally figure out what they're going to sound like in this period. But what's to come is, they're going again from one extreme to another. So, but we'll get to that. So, anyway, number 6, Minstrel. Okay, we're going back to the other end of the spectrum here, other end of the discography. A lot of people say this was a vast improvement on 80s Tull. And, I agree. The previous album, Under Wraps, I like it, but it was Tull, another period where they're trying to find their sound. And this on here, they found their 1980s sound. Released in 1987. It was recorded after a 3-year hiatus caused by throat infection by Ian Anderson. I remember this period because they thought, and I was thinking that Tull was done for, because Ian, he was on his farm, fishing and enjoying life, and a lot of people were wondering, is Tull done? But they came storming back. So released in 1987, talking about Crest of a Knave, and they just came out firing on all cylinders here. I mean, it was like, okay, here we are, we're back. Great songs. Love this album. Steel Monkey, slaps you, right across the face. Farming the Freeway, great. Jumpstart, fantastic. She Was a Dancer, great song right there. Budapest, love it. Mountain Man, love it. Raising Steam. I mean, this album could very well someday be my number one. Right now, uh, number five, my top five. The one thing I will say that I did not like um, was, don't get me wrong, I love Tall to death, but this album is not heavy metal. This album is hard rock with a touch of acoustic. They won the '89 Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Metal Performance. I thought they won the. But anyway, I guess you could say that, I guess that, I take that back. Maybe, it is hard rock metal performance. That's what they got down here. But I always heard, well, they were nominated for best metal performance. But, okay. But still, this rock, you could say maybe hard rock, but they're going up for against, they beat favored and Just for All by Metallica, which another great album, which was well, and Just for All is okay. I take that back; it's okay, but because it could have been better, but we won't get to that. So that's the only controversial aspect of this album, but still, it's a great comeback for Ian and the boys. So if you haven't got this album, you definitely need to get it. Crescent Wave, number 5. We're in the top 5 now. Top 5 at 5. Okay. Now, this album, another album that's grown on me over the years. As of late, I listen. If I'd done this maybe a few weeks ago, this could have been lower, but I listened to it, and it's just a marvelous album. I mean, of course, all Tull albums are marvelous, but this one more so than the others. This one beat out, I almost put this number 5 in Crescent Nave before, but this one beat out Crescent Nave because it's a little more in depth. Also, Tull in that period, early '80s period, where they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. They nailed it here. Released April 10th, 1982. I'm talking about The Broadsword and the Beast. Love that album cover. And the back cover is great. Where they did the songs. You got some of the band members on the corners here. Ian and the boys. Start out with Beastie. Fantastic. Clasp, I love. One of those songs that grows on you. Just gets better with age. Falling on Hard Times, love that. Flying Colors, great. Slow marching band's okay. Broadsword, love it. Bring me my broadsword and my clear understanding. Love it. Pussy Willow, fantastic. Watching Me, Watching You is all right. I think they should have left some of the outtakes on here, like Jacqueline or Overhang. Seal Driver's good, and they end it with Cheerio. But they kind of remedy that. They put on the bonus CD, they put Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow, Jacqueline. I love Jacqueline. They should have left that on here. Mayhem Maybe. It's okay. Too Many 2. Overhang. Another song they should have left on there. Rhythm in Gold. I Am Your Gun, and then Down at the end of your road. But Jacqueline and Overhang, when I heard them on the 20 box set of Tull. But anyway, I just fell in love with those songs. But outside of the little too much synthesizer aspect of it, it's a good, fantastically solid album here. That one bright point in a very bizarre sea of music at the time. So, and if you know what I'm talking about A and Under Wraps, those good albums, but this one, this portion right here is a lot better. So, number 4, Broadsword. This could actually move up. If I was to do this again later on, this could move up. So, anyway, moving right along. Released February 11th, 1977 at Chrysalis Records. Let me bring you songs from the wood. Number 3. Again, other than Under Wraps, I don't think Tull has ever done, outside of that one, I don't think Tull has ever done a bad album cover. I mean, they've all been fantastic. Maybe too old to rock and roll, but still, they're all iconic, even Under Wraps. But this one is just Ian out somewhere on his land. He bought a farm not too right before they did this album. Wanted to start fresh. Like I said, he'd gone through a divorce in the mid '70s, and it kind of messed him up a little bit. But fantastic album. Starts with Songs from the Woods, and then goes to Jack in the Green, Cup of Wonder, Hunting Girl, Ring Out, Solstice Bells, Velvet Green, Whistler, Pembroke, Cap in Hand, Pembroke. I guess that's how I pronounce it. Always had a hard time with that one. And then Fire at Midnight. Solid, Tull album. When they're, that extreme I was talking about with their middle 3 albums of War Child, Too Old to Rock and Roll, and Minstrel. Then they go into this more acoustic sounding, traditional style music with a hint of heavy metal, or heavy metal, hard rock. I mean, it's just wonderful. Then Heavy Horses follows this one, but this one is just about, a little bit more above Heavy Horses. But yeah, Songs from the Wood, marvelous album. Of course, you had the classic lineup, the 6 band members: Ian Anderson, Martin Baird, John Glasscock, John Evan, David Palmer on this, Barrymore Barlow, great group of people, guys. It's just too bad that this lineup couldn't have lasted a lot longer than it did. I mean, eventually they lost John Glasscock. He had heart surgery and didn't make it. Barrymore Barlow left because those were thick as him and John Glasscock were thick as thieves. John Evans decided to call it quits too, along with D. Palmer. So I left basically Ian Anderson and Martin Baird, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. But anyway, number 3, Songs in the Woods. Or Songs from the Woods. Yeah. Songs in the Woods 2. All right, moving right along. Now, if you're a major Tull fan, you know what my top two are. You don't know how they're going to fall. I might get a little flack for picking one over the other, but my number two could change places. But right now, this is the way I feel about it. Released March 19th, 1971. Number two is to Aqualung. What can I say about this album that hasn't been already said? I mean, it's just chock full of classic Tull. I mean, this is the album that got them their early 70s sound established. Starts out with Aqualung, written by Ian Anderson and Jeannie Anderson. Cross-Eyed Mary, fun tune. Cheap Day's Return, Mother Goose, love Mother Goose. Wondering Aloud, Up to Me. And you got side two. Side one is Aqualung. Side two is My God. Starts out with My God. Hymn 43, Slipstring, there's Locomotive Breath, and Wind Up. People say this is a concept album. Ian Anderson says, no, it's not a concept album. It just sounds like a concept album. And I agree. It does. I mean, of course, putting it side one, titling side one, Aqualung, and side two, My God, that kind of signals that it is a concept album. But when you listen to it, it's really not. Though a lot of the songs are related, like Aqualung and Locomotive Breath, and on Cross-Eyed Mary, you got mention of Aqualung. So, but early Tull at their finest. You had the classic lineup of Anderson, Bear, Hammond, Evans, and not the classic like Tull. So I had Clive Bunker on drums. Nothing against Clive, great drummer. But then you had Barrymore Barlow coming in to replace him. Clive does a great job on this at drums. So he went out with a bang with this album. So yeah, fantastic album, Aqualung. If you don't have this album, you're not a Tull fan. I'm sorry. That's the way I feel about it. So go away. You're not a Tull fan if you don't have Aqualung. Just get out of my face. No, sorry. Just kidding. Okay, moving on to number one. And number one, I have a drum roll here. Released September 1979. We have Stormwatch. Love that album cover, even though it's Ian's ugly mug. That cover is great. This album has just grown on me. I mean, when I first heard this album, when I first bought it in, I believe, is it late 1970? Or no, I take that back. It was early 1980, 81 when I bought this. I didn't know what to make of it. Of course, back then, I was younger. I was more into hard rock, heavy metal. So this album just did not strike me true. But as of late, I've listened to this album more than any other Tull album. I mean, the classic lineup period went out with a solid bang with this on this album. North Sea Oil, fantastic. Orion, Home, Dark Ages, love it. Warm Sporan, fantastic instrumental. Something's on the Move, I love it. Old Ghosts, my favorite song on the whole album, Dun Ring Gill. Oh, every time I hear that, it just sends a chill up my spine. You know, just love it. Just Ian at his best. Just a little acoustic little ditty. Just Flying Dutchman, fantastic, and LG. Little instrumental at the end that D. David Palmer wrote. Doesn't get any better than this. Tull is just fantastic. I mean, you can say Tull, they have that signature sound on all their albums, but each album is different. Of course, a lot of people could argue, well, 1990s Tull basically sound the same. No, you go back and listen to those albums, they all have a different sound, different aspect. But this really held true for the early Tull, and with the Zealot gene, I think Ian's gotten back to that classic Tull sound, that Tull edge. But at the same time, the music is fresh. It's like waking up to a new spring day, but with a hint of that stuff, that edge you love. And it holds true with all albums, all Tull albums. I mean, each one is unique. Especially during the 1970s and then 80s. You got that different, like I said, that different sound that at the same time is recognizable. So it kept everything fresh, moving along, and the Zealot gene is just another winner. And even though I don't like, the albums like Passion Play and Thick as a Brick and stuff like that, I don't hate them. They're just not my favorite right now. But they're still Tull. They're still a must-have for a Tull fan. If you're into Tull, you should have those albums. Should have all these albums. If you don't have these albums, or go out and get them. Support Ian and the boys. I mean, he's given us so much. Ian has done so much for music over the years. And Ian is a wonderful guy. I've never met him personally, but just listening to him talk, you can tell that he is full of life still. He's still got a lot left to give, and I hope he never ends. I mean, he's just a classic guy, and he loves what he does. I can tell that Ian, he doesn't do it for the money. I mean, he doesn't. At this point in his life, he doesn't need to go out on tour. He doesn't need to put out albums. When you think about it, he is set for the rest of his life, and I think the way he's going, he'll be around for quite a while yet. And I hope he continues on. And Ian, if you ever see this video, I kind of doubt he will, but thank you for all the years. You, Martin Bear, Glenn, John, Jeffrey Hammond, D. Palmer, all of you guys, every single one. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the music that you've given us. You've made, you make my life more special with your music. When I first got into Tull, I really didn't know because, like I said, I was into Kiss and ELO and Judas Priest at the time, and a friend of mine gave me three 8-track tapes of Jethro Tull, Songs from the Woods, Benefit, and Too Old to Rock and Roll, I think. There might have been some others in there. I can't remember. I'd have to go look. I still got them somewhere. But when I heard them, I'm like, wow, this is different. And I really didn't know if I liked it or not. But the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. And I went out and bought the albums. Now I got to go out and get these on CD. But anyway, thank you, Ian, and everybody, for all that. It's been great, and I hope it continues. And like I said, with the Zealot Gene, it's going to continue. And I hope he can get out there and do some touring. If he comes through here, I'm definitely going to go see him. So a lot of people say, well, it's not Jethro Tull without Martin Bear. Well, Martin's not going to rejoin anytime soon, But I'd say never say never, because anything is possible in music. One moment do you think somebody's never going to return, and boom, there they are. Look what happened to Korn. God, can't think of his name. Had left, and Brian Welch. Yeah, sorry. He left for a while, and people said, he'll never be back. He'll never be back. And then boom, he's back, and Korn's better than ever. In fact, did a review on Korn yesterday. Their new album, fantastic album. Jonathan sounds fantastic on it. I think this is the best Jonathan Davis has ever sounded on a Korn album. It is fantastic. Go check it out. But anyway, there you have Jethro Tull ranking the albums. Make sure you check out part 1 first. But this part has 11 through 1. So, little review. Number 1, Stormwatch. Number 2, Aqualung. Number 3, Songs from the Wood. Number 4, Broadsword and the Beast. Number 5, Crest of a Knave. Number 6, Minstrel in the Gallery. Number 7, Heavy Horses, Moving the Land Under Me. Number 8, Living in the Past. Number 9, the only Tull album I don't have on, other than the Christmas song, or Christmas album, the Zealot Gene, but I'm going to rectify that soon. So that's number 9, Zealot Gene. Number 10, Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. And number 11, Benefit. In fact, we'll just do everything here. That's number 11. Number 12 was War Child. Number 13, Stand Up. Number 14, jtull.com. Number 15, Roots to Branches. Number 16, A for We Missed You, Mr. Anderson. Number 17, under wraps. I've got you under wraps. Number 18. That's right. Rock Island. Number Night Fiend, Night Fiend. Number Night Fiend. Catfish Rising. That fiendish catfish. Number 20. This was Jethro Tull. Number 21. Thick as a Brick. And rounded out, number 22. The Passion Play. Well, there you have it, folks. It's a good thing I did this in 2 parts. Otherwise, it'd been almost 2 hours long for one whole part. So anyway, check out part 1, and this is part number 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Really enjoyed revisiting all these albums. In fact, listening to all these albums is just fun. So anyway, comments and leave down below. Leave your own ranking. I'd love to see it. Please subscribe and like the video and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. And we'll see y'all later. And spring's right around the corner. I mean, still freezing cold here. Well, of course, it's not too bad today. But I'll be glad when it's warmer. We get out and start doing things. Hopefully, maybe by the end of the month, we'll get warmer temperatures. So we'll see. So anyway, have a good one, everybody, and thanks for joining me. We'll see you later.